Am I the a-hole for refusing to make my sister-in-law's wedding cake for free? I, 29, run a bakery business that I've built from the ground up over the past 5 years. It started as a hobby during college, but now it's a registered business with steady clients, a dedicated workspace, and consistent monthly orders. I mostly bake for weddings, birthdays, and other events. I take a lot of pride in what I do. It's not just baking for fun anymore. This is my livelihood. My sister-in-law, 33 female, is getting married at the beginning of June. She's my partner's older sister. We're on friendly terms, but she's always had this vibe like she doesn't really take what I do seriously. She's made comments like, "It must be nice getting to play in the kitchen all day," or "You're lucky people will pay for something they could probably learn on YouTube." Always with a smile, like it's a joke but not really. I've brushed these comments off in the past since they didn't happen all the time, and I just didn't want to stir up any drama. Earlier this month, she asked if I'd make her wedding cake. I said sure and asked what she had in mind. She sent over inspiration pictures of a 4-tier cake with smooth buttercream, floral piping, and real flowers on top, and cascading down one side. She wanted it to be a chocolate sponge with raspberry filling. Plus, she asked that I deliver it to the venue myself on the morning of the wedding, rather than her picking it up the day before. After we discussed everything, I gave her a quote over the phone with a generous family discount. Sister-in-law replied almost instantly that she didn't think I'd be charging her and that the cake would essentially be a wedding gift. I told her that I don't typically do wedding cakes as gifts because of how much time and work they take. But I'd be happy to buy her something from her registry instead, or still make the cake at the discounted price if she wanted. She wasn't happy. She said I was being transactional and that it's just a cake, and claimed I clearly didn't want to be part of her special day before hanging up on me. To be clear, I have made cakes for free before, but those were small, simple ones for people I care about, or for friends going through a rough time. This isn't that. My sister-in-law and her fiancé can't afford the cake, and it's not like she's ever really respected my work. Meanwhile, sister-in-law has been telling anyone who will listen that I'm making her big day about myself and trying to profit off her happiness. Seriously. My mother-in-law called, and she didn't really ask how I felt or try to understand where I was coming from. She just seemed overwhelmed and kind of desperate to stop this from turning into a bigger family fight. She kept going on about how stressed my sister-in-law was and how she was being a bit much, but basically begged me to reconsider. My partner is completely on my side and has told his mom to stop trying to smooth things over at my expense, but even he admitted he sort of wishes I just said yes to avoid the fallout. Now for the top comments. I'm impressed you didn't send her a YouTube link so she could learn to do it herself. Not the a-hole. I'm petty. That is exactly what I would have done. Not the a-hole. People have no idea how much time, effort, and talent something like this takes. She devalues your work. Stick to your guns. Let her say whatever she wants. The people who agree with her are uninformed, but most people will see that she's being ridiculous, especially if you let them know how much money and time the cake she's asking for would take. If the other guests aren't paying at least that much money on the bride's wedding gift and spending at least that much time on it, they don't have a leg to stand on. Good luck. Not the a-hole. People seriously underestimate the time, skill, and effort that goes into custom work like that. She's not entitled to your talent for free, and anyone siding with her clearly doesn't get it. Stick to your worth. The real ones will understand. Not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law is being an entitled cheapskate. If you wouldn't normally gift her something as expensive as a cake, then don't gift her the cake. Tell her to get quotes elsewhere. Next story. Would I be the a-hole for asking my future brother-in-law and his wife to return an expensive gift I gave them after they limit contact with me? I, 35 female, have been with my partner Jamie, 33 male, for over 6 years, and we're getting married this fall. For most of our relationship, I've had a close bond with his brother Matt, 37 male, and Matt's wife, Claire, 39 female. We've shared holidays, dinners, hangouts, and I've always done what I could to support them, especially during hard times. I am the primary source of income. About 2 months ago, I bought a new car and offered them my old one, worth $6,500. It was still in good working condition, and they accepted it, so I fully transferred it over to them. It was a genuine gift, given out of love and support, and I was happy to help because they relied 100% on public transportation. Over the past few years, I also gave small things, like household items, groceries, and things for their kid, all meant kindly and never with any expectations. But now things have shifted. Claire recently initiated a conversation where she said the gifts and emotional support I offered had felt too much, overwhelming, etc., and even went as far as saying she felt I was using them to fulfill my own emotional needs. She said she no longer feels comfortable around me and wants to limit contact, as in don't text them unless they text first, and slow down. This completely blindsided me. I was never given any indication before that she felt this way. One example Claire brought up really confused me. They have a shy cat, Shadow, who hides whenever we visit. We've never seen her in person, and it became a running joke between me and Jamie that she might not actually exist, a reference to the M&M Christmas commercial. He does exist. Claire said she found that joke offensive, like we were mocking a traumatized animal. That felt like a major overreaction to something lighthearted and affectionate. Now here's the part that's really been weighing on me. Claire and Matt have made it clear they don't want any more gifts or support, and that our relationship needs distance. Gifts for their kid are okay, and they're still happy to keep the car I gave them, something that came from a time when our relationship was close, warm, and mutual. To be clear, I haven't asked for the car back, but I've been thinking about sending a message. Not demanding anything, but pointing out the emotional disconnect, that they've rejected ongoing support and suggested past support was not genuine, yet they have no issue keeping such a significant gift, the car. I want to ask them to reflect on what that means. Jamie is supportive of whatever decision I make, but he's worried this might further rupture things with his family. His mom also relies on Matt and Claire for transportation to our wedding, and he's concerned that asking for the car back, or even just bringing it up, might make that more complicated. So, would I be the a-hole for wanting to ask them to reflect on this? Or even possibly asking for the car back? Not the a-hole for feeling upset and confused, but you might potentially be the a-hole if you demand the car back, or try to force a discussion before everyone has had a chance to settle down a bit. If the car was indeed meant as a genuine gift, then no, you shouldn't ask for it back. As you said, it was given during better times in the relationship. Now the dynamic of the relationship has changed per their request, so it would be appropriate to just implement a no-gifts policy with them going forward. I also think it's probably best to leave things where they lie and not ask for further clarification, so this doesn't break down any further before your wedding. Give it some time and see if a discussion between all of you can happen at a later time. And you can also add if it makes them feel more comfortable to return the gifts, then feel free, as you can make use of them elsewhere, if that is what it takes to help restore some resemblance of a sibling relationship. To ask for the car back, you would be the a-hole. It was a gift you gave with pure intentions. Claire is the one with the problem, not you. For Claire to say she's uncomfortable receiving gifts is a bunch of BS. If she's so uncomfortable, then she can say, no thank you. Don't give them another damn thing. And scale back on what you give their children. And even if they change their tune about being uncomfortable, say, oh great, I'm glad you're comfortable. But cut that gravy train completely off. Sheesh, some people. Next story. Am I the a-hole for sticking with my son when my fiancé unfairly punished him? I, 38 male, have a son, 9, and a stepson, 8, from my current fiancé, 32 female. My fiancé tells me all the time that my son is rude and nasty when I'm not there, and acts really bratty when he doesn't get his way, but I always give my son a chance to speak his piece. I try to give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, my son is a really good kid but doesn't play well with others, especially loud kids who love to tease and make fun. My stepson loves to tease him to the point where my son gets angry and takes matters into his own hands. While I've punished him for that, I've also punished his stepbrother for instigating and not respecting boundaries, which I think is fair. However, my fiancé always tries to paint it like my son can dish it but can't take it. I happen to know that he only teases back when he's provoked, mostly because he can't tell if it's an attack or just supposed to be fun. I don't think he really cares which, it just bothers him either way. Last Saturday, the 12th, I came home from work and found my son on punishment. When I asked him why, he broke down and started crying. I saw his stepbrother in the living room playing on the PS5. I asked my fiancé why my son was in his room, and she told me that he was being rude and nasty to all of the kids and adults at an earlier party because he lost a game. I sat him down and asked what happened. He told me that all day, he avoided people he knew would tease him, because he knew the adults would find it amusing and do nothing about it. But if he said anything back, my fiancé would be on his case immediately. The whole time she was making sure he didn't have too much of the food he liked, while letting others gorge themselves. And she wouldn't let him play video games while her son and the others played. Then when they roped him into playing a board game and he lost first, he claims they cheated. I don't know if they did or not. He went into another room immediately before they had a chance to tease him for it. He told me he didn't even know if they were going to, but he figured if he avoided and ignored them, they couldn't make fun of him and he wouldn't get in trouble for snapping. He hates that it's okay for others to tease him when he loses, but if he does it, they twist it like he started it. So he pretty much ignored everyone after he lost to hide his disappointment and avoid getting in trouble. After hearing this, I told him to get dressed and took him out to Sonic and Insomnia Cookies to cheer him up. I told him that, despite most people thinking what he did was rude, I thought he did nothing wrong. They were being jerks, and I was extremely proud of him for not reacting the way he has in the past. When we got home, I found my fiancé packing up her things and taking her son to stay with her mom for a while. I asked why, and she told me she couldn't take living with me and my spoiled brat son anymore, especially if I wasn't going to hold him accountable. It's been a week. My son is very happy, but I may have lost my fiancé. Am I the a-hole for sticking with my son? Now for the comments. You're the a-hole for allowing your son to be emotionally abused for this long. Stop treating it like a trivial thing. Do you really think that taking him out is going to magically cure him of the emotional scars your fiancé inflicted? Do you really think that your son will fully trust you again after you allowed this woman and her son to bully him in his own home? Get him a counselor or a therapist. He sure as heck isn't going to be okay after this. Honestly, I've only been engaged for 2 years and I'm barely home. I haven't really seen the signs as she's been really covert with it. I get that I may have been better off removing her and her son out of our lives, but I honestly just wanted things to work out and I wanted to be sure. I have him scheduled for an autism assessment coming up next week. So you have made your son suffer for years because you wanted to make it work? Your poor son needs a father who puts him first, which you clearly haven't. I think it's a good thing for everybody that your fiancé is moving out. I don't know if your fiancé is this horrible step monster or if you're just a lazy parent, but it sounds like this is not a healthy environment for either kids. Honestly, this is just the best answer. It's obvious there's a lot of distrust in this family. If we believe OP's child, then there is systematic abuse going on whenever OP isn't around. He's not allowed to eat enough, play games, or have fun when the fiancé is watching him. His fiancé has convinced OP's whole family that his child is a bad apple. OP doesn't relay what the fiancé said happened, but presumably she claimed everything the child said was a lie. Realistically, it's probably a mix of exaggeration from everyone, and that means something is fundamentally broken in this family that can only be fixed through a lot of hard work and everyone's willingness to participate. I realize OP works 2 jobs, and that the mother of his child passed away 9 years ago. But if he downsized and got rid of the fiancé and her kid, he might be able to work less. Either way, this is an unhealthy environment for his son, and changes need to be made. Last story. Am I the a-hole for canceling our date because she was 15 minutes late? I connected with someone on a dating app, and after a while of texting, we agreed to meet at a restaurant for our first in-person date. To clarify, In my profile, I listed people not being on time as my biggest red flag. In our chat, I talked about how punctuality is a really important virtue to me. When we planned the date, I specifically told her to text me if something came up or if there were any delays. Come the day and time of the date, she wasn't there. I waited and checked my phone, and she hadn't texted me anything. She finally arrived 15 minutes late. She greeted me but didn't even apologize for being late. I asked her why she was late. She shrugged and said that getting ready just took longer than expected. I asked her if, when she was driving, she already knew she wouldn't make it on time. She said yes. I asked her why she didn't text me. She said she didn't because she was only a little late and then started looking visibly annoyed. At that point, I excused myself, said our values don't align, and left her there. She proceeded to shout after me and blew up my phone before I unmatched her when I got home. Am I the a-hole? I just have absolutely zero tolerance for not being on time without a good reason, especially when you don't even communicate properly or aren't even sorry about it. I know my standards are harsh, but I feel like I was very open about it and gave plenty of warnings. Not the a-hole. Normally I'd say this is an overreaction, but in your case, it's listed on your profile. You had a conversation about lateness before the date, and you explained how you'd like someone to respond if they're running late. And she just ignored that. Honestly, it wouldn't even be the lateness that bothered me, but the lack of respect. I'd add that OP waited for an explanation before making his mind and leaving. To me too, it's an obvious not the a-hole. Yeah, OP even asked what happened and why she didn't text. Just disappearing from the restaurant would have been bad. You don't know if she got crushed under a falling jet engine a la Donnie Darko 2001. But OP stuck it out, despite having explained this boundary. This is what I consider a pretty rare situation, where technically you're not the a-hole in this particular situation, but I'm sorry man, you very much come off like an a-hole generally. I just have absolutely zero tolerance for not being on time without good reason. I have listed people not being on time as my biggest red flag. In our chat, I talked about how punctuality is a really important virtue to me. Fair to say you were explicit in your warnings, and she knew what she was getting into, so she gets to be the a-hole for that night. But I wonder if she dodged a bullet. In this post at least, you sound intolerant and pompous to the point of being insufferable. I wouldn't want someone like you in my life. Hopefully, enough people feel differently that you have some good ones in yours. This OP may not be the a-hole in this specific situation, but his general rigid attitude is that of an a-hole. She dodged a bullet here.